What's up, kinfolk? Welcome to Adapt and Respond with me, RJ Young. If you are new to the channel, thanks for being here and consider subscribing as we talk college football year round. And if you're into that, go ahead and comment down below. Let me know what was the most exciting upset in one way or another. If you talk about Oregon or Indiana, absolutely an upset, all caps, bold, italicized, Texas over Oklahoma. And which games were you surprised to see were just kind of ho-hum? Was it Texas Tech beating the snot out of Kansas even after Baron Morton had to leave the game and Will Hammond had to come in to finish the game for a second time this season? Was it perhaps Auburn getting absolutely screwed in the first half only to lose the game by double digits to Georgia anyway? Was it perhaps even USC really needing to show up and show everybody that they could be physical with Michigan? Because I think all of those qualify. But I do want to get started with this Michigan USC thing off the rip. Number one, I was very interested in it because the only loss that Michigan had taken so far this season was to Oklahoma, to which at the time was a top 15 win for the Sooners, and it helped vault them into the top 10 for the following few weeks. Things that transpired since then, notably John Mateer gets injured, has hand surgery, comes back in time to play Texas, and plays like cheeks against Texas. They take the loss. So if you're an Oklahoma fan, you're going, okay, Michigan, take care of business against USC, keep that top 20 ranking, go on the road, get yourself a Big Ten win. But Sharon Moore knowingly kicked the hornet's nest earlier this week when it was brought to his attention that it was a sellout for Michigan to go on the road to USC, to which Sharon Moore said, of course it's a sellout. It's Michigan. I mean, they're not going to sell out their own stadium. That would be us. We would be the people doing that for them. Lincoln Riley seemed to take some umbrage to that earlier in the week and talking about, I don't care what he says about it. And then in the post game, you could see he was rather fired up emotionally about getting this win against Michigan, that they were not going to be denied, and they were the most physical team out there. And y'all know how much Sharon Moore and Michigan pride themselves on being the most physical team in any football game they play. I mean, the man walks around yelling smash, and y'all walk around yelling bet, making me think that even as Michigan men and Michigan women, y'all don't know more than one syllable words. However, you went down there and you got smashed by USC 31-13. Even with Waymon Jordan not being able to go for the rest of the way, he leaves the game. But they got this dude in King Miller that could absolutely go make a play and make it happen for them. He rushed for 158 yards with a touchdown, and Jaden Mayava passed for 265 for 2 scores in the defeat. And I think this might be one way in which USC gets back into the top 25 and gets a much-needed victory in Big Ten play. It also helps Illinois, who took a loss to Ohio State today and also has lost not just to Ohio State, but to Indiana. So they've got losses to two teams that are not only undefeated, but two teams that could play for the Big Ten championship, putting Illinois in the Indiana spot last year. Maybe Indiana thinks it should be in the Oregon spot this year. That's certainly where I think I'm going to have them rank when we talk about their top 25 going into Sunday, as we're finishing up our nightcap of games with Arizona State, Utah, BYU, and Arizona. We'll find out more about our top 25. Iowa State's probably going to get knocked out because Colorado up and bit them, and that was pretty cool. Stormed the field at Colorado, and now the university owes the Big 12 $50,000, to which we got $10 million coaches like Deion Sanders catching feelings over $50,000 fine. Okay, sure, fine. But let the kids be kids. I'm more interested in what this win is going to mean for USC and perhaps making the college football playoff, because now we got a 5-1 USC. They could have easily been a 9-win team last year had they won some one-score games or just finished in the fourth quarter. In this game, they left no doubt. I mentioned that Jaden Mayava threw for 265. He was 25 for 32. I also mentioned that King Miller had 158 yards on the ground. He only needed 18 rushes. Waymo Jordan had 11 for 39 before them. And Mekhi Lemon is up there now, man. It's like Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate. You take one, I'll take the other. And then you're going to have a conversation about Mekhi Lemon or DeCorian Moore or Elijah Surratt as best wide receivers in the Big Ten. It's actually a pretty loaded year for wide receivers in the league. And I think one of the reasons they get to do that is because Mekhi has really come on in a very cool way through this season. So far, 6 games, he's averaging 118 yards receiving, 5 TDs. He's given up I say he's given up. He is having the kind of impact on USC that Other wide receivers in Lincoln Riley's offense have had on USC: Hollywood Brown, D.D. Westbrook, Jordan Addison to go to USC for a little bit. You could keep going down the line and find the wide receiver and quarterback combos all up and down Lincoln Riley's tree. And usually the guy that he picks to play quarterback is pretty good. He ran off Miller Moss after benching him about 2/3 of the way through the 2024 season. And since then, the transfer from UNLV has been everything that you want, even adding an element to their ground game that Lincoln Riley's always enjoyed about his quarterbacks. They can get them out of trouble. I think as we continue to talk about this, again, third downs have just become a really important statistic for me, even more so this year, because it's next to turnovers. It is the one telling the story about who won and lost the game. When you go 2 of 9 on third down, Michigan, you're not going to be able to pick up first downs and you're going to fall behind. And that's what happened. USC scored first, and that was that. It didn't much feel like Michigan was going to have an opportunity to win the game if they couldn't stop USC from scoring and take a lead. And what Michigan does well is take an early lead, get it up to double digits, and then sit on it. And if you never allow them to take a lead, they never get an opportunity to take their foot off the gas, and you make Bryce Underwood have to be the guy that is going to beat you. Sometimes he can, sometimes he can't. In this game, your Wink Martindale got absolutely shown up by Lincoln Riley. 489 yards over the course of the game for USC, 224 yards on the ground. The 2 turnovers were piece for both, but I was more impressed with how USC was able to just run the ball on that Wink Martindale defense more than I was impressed with how the USC defense kept Michigan at bay. Also made Bryce Underwood look okay as opposed to superhuman. Still, for a true freshman to go 15 of 24 for 207, 2 TDs, and then to really put themselves in a position where they still had an opportunity late in the game to go win it, he is the best freshman in college football today for me, right? That's just it. If we're talking about true freshmen, we're probably talking about Bryce Underwood, given all the things that he's responsible for and how much better he makes that Michigan team now that they got a real live working quarterback back there, and not just one that can throw the ball, but one that can make his own moves running the ball. And he is their best player, even at 19 years old. That's really impressive to me. Andrew Marsh and Donovan McCulley have continued to step up. Andrew Marsh more today than Donovan McCulley, but they're answering the question that I had for Michigan going into this 2025 season, which is it's great to have a quarterback, but if you don't have anybody who can catch the football, what good is he? And Andrew Marsh, the last couple of games, has said, I can do it. And Donovan McCulley, the last 4 games, has said, I can do it. And slowly but surely, they are developing a wide receiving core to go along with their home run hitter and Justice Haynes, who didn't hit a home run at all against USC's defense. If I'm going to tip a cat to Denton Land on that, that's it. This is a guy who broke in a 40-yard touchdown in almost every game that Michigan had played this year. And his long today was 13 yards, which was the same long that Jordan Marshall had. And Jordan Marshall actually outrushed him, 14 for 68 to Justice Haynes, 10 for 51. But again, you don't get an opportunity to run the ball 20, 25 times if you don't have the ball and you get stopped on third down. And that was what USC did very well. So we might see USC and Michigan swap positions in the AP top 25 and in my top 25, but there's still some more moving and pushing around that we got to do before we get that done. I also think that it's important to put into context what Texas A&M is doing alongside what Georgia is doing. And I want to do that right after we take a very short break. So I was talking to the homie earlier today about Ohio State and Illinois. And one of the things that he brought up to me was he didn't know who to pick in this game. So I'm giving him the 411 on what I expect from Illinois, right? Which is not a whole lot of nothing offensively, and particularly with Luke Altmaier, who hasn't been good against top 25 opponents. Matter of fact, he's only thrown for 200 yards or more against top 25 opponents 2 times in 8 chances. And he was pretty bad against Indiana earlier this year, a game they lost 63-10. He's 14-22 for 146. Luke Altmaier needs to have a great game against Ohio State for them to win. He's not going to go for 300 yards. And I'm trying to tell him, hey, man, that Ohio State defense is historic. 5 points allowed per game, 2 TDs allowed all season, no red zone TDs at all. You got to be a fool to not listen to me about this. And the homie was like, I love talking to RJ because, well, don't nobody know college football like RJ. And I'm going, I appreciate that, big dog. But the fact of the matter is, dog, it's just, I'm a winner. I'm going to win. And I know that as a college football fan, you want to use what I know to win. So yeah, let's win. And you need to know what I know as soon as I know it so that you can go and do what you got to do accordingly. So knowing all of that, right? I'm like, okay, who could we partner with that could help the folks that watch this show, that like this show, go make a little bit of money, right? So my bookie makes it really easy for you to win using what I know about college football. And you can do it any kind of way you want. You want spreads, they got spreads. You want in-game lines, they got those. You want player props, they got those too. You can do all three. You know what I'm saying? And because you're here and I'm a winner, they're willing to give you $500 first time you go to make any bet you choose, right? Use my code. It's RJ Young, all one word. You go to my bookie, you sign up. And let's say for whatever reason, you don't win. Well, they got this thing called a bet back token, which I think is kind of cool. Make sure I get this right. So you use your bet back token if you opt in, right? And you can come back, play again. Again, visit the link in the description to mybookie.com. You can see it down there. It's got my name in there. It's like join with RJ Young. And use the promo code RJ Young, all one word, all caps, to basically take advantage of the opportunity that is presented to you here. You want to win, so let's win. Use my bookie and watch the show. Duh. So my man made some money today because, well, we had that conversation earlier in the week, and he told me about it. His Ohio State dispatched Illinois 34-16. That 5 points per game scoring defensive average, it's going to take a hit, but Ohio State is the best team in college football by some margin. What's really fascinating is the question of who is the second best team in college football. And there are some Miami fans that got a point. Miami is idle this week, but given what Indiana just did to Oregon, beating them 30-20, and that they put 63 up on the same Illinois team that Ohio State put 34 up on, and that they allowed 10 when Ohio State allowed 16, Indiana is going to have something to say about this. And then we got damn near 6 teams in the SEC that also have a fight about this. One of them entering the fray late in the season for me, halfway. Texas A&M is 6-0 to start this season after beating Florida 34-17. Marcel Reed learned how to throw the football to his own people, and all of a sudden, you put that with a Mike Elko defense, and you got a top 5 A&M who's putting it all together, at least for the first half of the season. So now we have undefeated A&M, who looks very good offensively and defensively, dispatched the same Florida team that just beat the Texas team that beat Oklahoma. Okay, Texas A&M and Texas obviously going to play at the end of the year, and that's going to be one that we watch. Now, I'm interested in that. Then we saw Georgia beat Auburn on the road. Yes, the SEC officiating in that game was absolutely, positively atrocious. It felt like crimes were being committed, man. Like, I looked at this replay call that they did not overturn that led to a score for Georgia, and I'm going, oh my God. And you look at some of the targeting penalties that they did in replay, and also how long the replays took. Other games that kicked off at 6:30, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time finished a good half an hour before Auburn and Georgia did, in large part due to the officials needing to take 10 or even 12 minutes to find out what to do on the football field. And Sean McDonough was all of us sighing and going, oh my goodness, really? Again, not again? Are we going to do this? Sean McDonough, who hates a replay. We all know this. But also Sean McDonough, who's going to tell you how he feels up there. In the way that Chris Fowler wants to be football guy, Sean McDonough is going to be like, nah, I don't like the way this is going down. I don't like the way this is being called. I don't like any of this. I always kind of find it funny when the play-by-play guy has football opinions, because that's not the job. The job is to set up the guy who has football opinions. That's what it is. So when you hear Herb Street saying nice things about whomever it is, and you hear Fowler trying to come in there with hard and fast fact. I'm going, get out of the way. Let your analyst do his job, and you set up the play. That's what it is. You throw the assist. He dunks it. You want to be an analyst? Go be an analyst. Don't be a play-by-play guy. Sean McDonough does a great job of shutting up Greg McElroy, just like Gus Johnson does a great job of setting up Joel Klatt, and Joel Klatt does a great job of continuing to push the story. One of the things that I often find interesting about watching these games is who's watching it like I am, which is a question I ask more often than not. And how do I watch a game? I never want to tell you what's obvious unless we need to set the table. So if you saw that they moved the ball for 5 yards, I don't want to tell you that they moved the ball for 5 yards. I want to tell you why they moved the ball for 5 yards, or what the safeties were doing, or what the quarterback saw, or what was going on at the line of scrimmage where nobody seems to put their eyes but the football people. And then to watch this on television copy is also kind of cool, because when you're in the booth, you have a secret weapon. You get to hit the playback before the audience sees the playback, and you know exactly what you want to talk about when the instant replay comes up for them, and it's like magic. Wait, he saw that in real time. Yes, he also saw it on delay, and he gets to go in the ear and goes, hey, look, pull that back up. I want to see this part. Cool, bet, got it. Yeah, it's an illegal man downfield. They're going to have a penalty on number 65. And just like that, referee, legal man downfield, 5-yard penalty, repeat second down. I love seeing that sort of stuff play out, because I'm a student of the broadcast, and I'm a student of the broadcast injury as much as I'm a football junkie. All that to say, if I can see it obviously, and you can see it obviously, that Jackson Arnold had broken the damn plane before he fumbled a football, why in his name are we going to allow you to tell us that the Georgia player picked up the ball off the pile, ran it all the way back? Are we making up new rules to football now? Is that what we're doing? And are we tossing kids for what kind of sort of might have been targeting, but not really? Get out of here. SEC officiated office got some work to do, dog. Like that's the rant there. This was ridiculous. I'm not an Auburn fan. I make jokes about Auburn. I make jokes about how good or bad Auburn's going to be. But I love seeing Cam Newton in the student section. I love that they were honoring Cam Newton on this night. It's also ridiculous that this continues to happen to them. If Hugh Freeze is chewing you out, it's because you deserved it. You deserved it. And you know how bad you got to be for me to be siding with Hugh Freeze chewing somebody out? Get out of here, man. Get out of here. Tennessee able to hold off Arkansas late, so they get the game next week that I think is going to be really interesting. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the segment. But the other game that I think we need to really pay attention to here is Texas Tech, Kansas. For whatever reason, Texas Tech can go 6-0, and they'll probably be a top 10 team in my rankings. We'll see about the APs come tomorrow, given some of the losses we saw, particularly to Oregon and Oklahoma. I think Texas Tech getting on people's nerves, dog. I mean it. Like, I think Texas Tech is really getting on people's nerves in the way that new money gets on people's nerves. You know, you ever see some unsinkable Molly Brown come through and you be like, hey, you new to the neighborhood. Act like you're new to the neighborhood, not like you've been here the whole time, or like you want to upset the equilibrium and the environment and balance atmosphere of our neighborhood, because that's what it feels like Texas Tech is doing. Put another way, your billionaire booster in Cody Campbell has his name on the football field. It says Cody Campbell Field. You have this man in charge of your regents, Texas Tech. He's also basically the guy overseeing the football program and the event general manager. And now he's putting out ads attacking the Sports Broadcasting Act because he wants to see it modernized. He wants to see it modernized because he wants to see the Olympic sports remain, because he knows what the rest of us know, which is if we continue to go the course that we are going, conference commissioners are going to go to football and men's basketball, and that's where the lion's share of the money is going to go, because that's where the broadcast rights go, to which he's trying to finagle a new kind of legislation that makes the networks air more Olympic sports, because he thinks there's value there. He thinks there's unseen revenue there. And he believes that those that have do not want to open up and make a bigger pie, because it invites more who have not. And it's better to be a have with little than it is to have a bunch of havers with a little bit less. All that to say, the Big Ten, the SEC, ACC, Big 12, Power 4 conferences, for the most part, might be looking at this going, why are you all of a sudden trying to walk into a place where we have been swimming for years as if you yourself know something we don't? And it's because Cody Campbell truly thinks he does. The problem with this is you got to attract more flies with honey. And there's no honey that's being spread around. There's only, I'm fronting, Cody Campbell is fronting this ad. He's paying for these ads. And the networks and the commissioners don't like being poked at like this. Who does? Who like being poked at like this? All while Texas Tech has spent more money than anybody in college football this year on their roster. And they're winning. They're winning. They're 6-0 for the first time since 2013. They're chasing their first 9-win season with a head coach not named Mike Leach, and their first 10-win season ever. Need 4 wins to make that happen. And given what the rest of their schedule looks like, they could do it. Their defensive line is outstanding. They've got enough in the 2 deep to when people go down hurt, they got it. Quentin Joyner went down early in the season. Cameron Dickey took one to the house first play from scrimmage. Okay, that defensive line could play in the NFC East right now. Wouldn't be as good as the Philadelphia Eagles, but also wouldn't be as bad as the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, I'm looking at you and your middle finger, Jerry Jones. I'm tired of being crappy. This is why I find other things to do during a Dallas Cowboys football game because it's just not good for my health. It's just not good for my blood pressure. All of a sudden, I look around, I'm like, I need beta blockers. And I ain't never needed no beta blockers. You know what I'm saying? The magnesium is all I needed. But when I watch that team or I watch John Mateer throw the ball to the dude wearing the orange jersey and not the dude wearing the red one, I need to calm down some. I think that if you are watching Texas Tech play and you're asking yourself, what makes this team good? It's easy to watch on a football field. But if you're asking how this team makes you feel, I think they enjoy that. I think it's called the Red Raiders for a reason. I really do. I think that most teams enjoy being the black hat. They do. Most teams enjoy being the villain. Most of us enjoy being the villain. It's much easier to move in the world when you believe that everybody is out to get you and hate you. That makes it very, very, very simple what you must do. And that clears anything that might be in your way. It is see thing, do thing. It is anybody who ain't with us is against us. We leave no gray areas here. We don't poison the well with nuance. But I'm going to do that because I'm a college football fan and a college football analyst, which means that my heart is over here. My brain is right here. And I care about the future of this sport. But if you make it you versus everybody else, guess who usually wins that fight given the long-term structure of how society works? The people. The people. What I think the problem here is most people want to see Olympic sports survive. And they would like to see Olympic sports make money. But they do not patronize them. Okay? When you tell me that you are much more likely to watch the Women's College World Series, or excuse me, yes, the Women's College World Series, or just the Softball College World Series, than you are a football game, you tell me. All right? But it's like, no, we're not equating those two things. We're equating, say, college baseball, men's college baseball, to college softball. Okay, show me. Same thing with women's basketball and men's basketball. Show me. When we as a people patronize the other sports more than we do another, then you can tell where our allegiances lie. And I just think right now the cart is before the horse. It's one thing for us to tell you that we want to fund Olympic sports. It's another thing for us to fund them ourselves. But guess what's not going away ever? Football. Particularly the NFL and college football. And I think while this is a great idea and it seems cool, I mean, the Sports Broadcasting Act is ancient and it does need to be revised. It's not likely to get done because of the political atmosphere that we have in the United States. And frankly, we got more important fish to fry in college football than how to divvy up the money as it's even getting smaller for some and bigger for others. There's just no way to make everybody happy. Even though I think at his core, that is what Cody Campbell is trying to do. Then again, billionaire, trying to make everybody happy? Does that sound right to you? We're going to take another short break. We'll come back. I want to take an early look at a couple of games that I think everybody should be paying attention to in week 8. Back on Adapt and Respond with me, RJ Young. If you're new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button and like this video and answer the question in the comments below. Who's going to win? Ugh. Alabama or Tennessee week 8? Because that is the game of the week for me, man. That's a night game, and everybody loves to have a night game when it's time to have a night game. That is a traditional rivalry game that ain't going nowhere, and that game is at Bryant-Denny. And it feels like we're going to find out who's for real in the SEC in a way in which they can't really come back from. Both these teams got a loss. Both of these teams have a loss that we think can be explained away. Alabama's got a loss to what is now, and not just a Florida State team that is 3-3, but a Florida State team that has not won a conference game of its own in 385 days. Okay. It's also got to win against Georgia, which at the time, nobody could get that done. It had been 6 years, damn near 6 years, since anybody went into Sanford and beat Georgia. Ty Simpson and Kalen DeBoer went in there first time and got a W. Okay. So they're back to good. They're going to move up. They might be a top 5 team tomorrow. They might not. They got a great win earlier today against Missouri, who was also undefeated and was a top 15 opponent on the road. That's 2 great top 15 road wins for Bama. They have a great wide receiving core, and their running back core is deeper than I thought it was going to be. And their defense played its best game of the season today, holding Ahmad Hardy to just 52 yards, who was the nation's leading rusher coming into this after 5 weeks, had rushed for 730 yards, and they played keep away. And it got dicey toward the end, yes, but they had the interception to seal the game because Kane Womack's defense absolutely got the game ball for me. Meanwhile, Tennessee took a loss to Georgia in double overtime at home. It was heartbreaking for them. They thought they had it won. I thought they had it won, and I thought in Joey Aguilar, they had a dude that could get it done. Just fell a little bit short. Since then, they beat UAB 56-24, Mississippi State 41-34. That game was tight in the fourth quarter. And then they survived Arkansas in the Bobby Petrino era, 34-31 earlier today. Deshaun Bishop was outstanding running the football, 146 yards on the ground. And the number 12 Tennessee team probably gets to stay right there. Maybe move up a little bit more. Alabama was 8 today. Maybe they move up to as much as 6 or 5, given how you think about Oregon or Oklahoma and their losses. But this game has been circled for me for some time because both of these programs are in a spot they did not expect to be, given how last year ended. First, there's no Nico Iamaleava at Tennessee, and you probably leveled up into Joey Aguilar. Your running attack is different, but it's still good. Like, we all know what Dylan Sampson meant to Tennessee last year. Best tailback in the SEC. But in Deshaun Bishop, in Star Thomas, you have guys, right? In Peyton, you have guys. You also got a great wide receiving core that can take advantage of some of the deeper patterns that Josh Heupel likes to run. And I think when we talk about Chris Brazzell, we're talking about one of the better wide receivers in the SEC. Same thing with Mike Matthews. I would even throw in Braylon Staley in here. So that's 3 guys that I trust you to throw the ball to. And then the defense, though, is it's not as good as I expected it to be. It just isn't. They're giving up more points than I thought they would to teams that I didn't think were that good. You'll look at the UAB score and go, well, RJ, it's UAB. And also, did you see the part where you mentioned they scored 56? Well, UAB not just scored 24. Did you see what kind of passing yardage that Tennessee passing defense gave up? Because Jalen Kitna went 38 of 51 for 364 with 2 TDs. That's UAB. Okay. And now let's take a look at what Taylor Green did. Arkansas. Who's Arkansas? Right? Arkansas is a team that just fired its head coach. Arkansas is a team that might end up at the bottom of the SEC standings. It's right now, it looks like it's going to be between them and Auburn because it doesn't feel like Mississippi State's anybody's doormat. But Taylor Green goes 21 to 31 for 256, and 63 yards on the ground. They're also not keeping people out of the end zone at the rate that I would like them to. I think when you give up 250-yard passer, 130-yard rusher, and a game that you probably should have put away late comes back, it's just not a good look. You're supposed to beat Arkansas like they stole something because they're coming off a bye, sure, but they fired their head coach. They fired the defensive staff. They should be at 6s and 7s, to use that English phrase. And they weren't. They were ready. They were loaded. Arkansas also was the team that was able to knock off Tennessee and really show people they're gettable. We could talk about the rest of the season there, but I thought that win for Sam Pittman is the reason he got to 2025. And I thought a win for Bob Petrino here would see that he is the head coach 2026. It just didn't get it done. It's also a Tennessee team that was scarily bad on third down against Arkansas. Again, who had fired its defensive staff. 2 of 9 on third down. That's a big statistic for me this year. If you're bad on third down, you probably lost the football game. Tennessee still puts up 485 yards, but they gave up 496 again to Arkansas, who had fired its head coach, fired its defensive staff. They also turned the ball over 3 times, Arkansas, and still only lost by 3. What if they hadn't turned the ball over at all? Because Tennessee didn't. They were also sacked Taylor Green 5 times, so the defensive line did its job in getting home. But I don't feel as confident in that game as I might have when the season started. When you put Tennessee and Alabama on the schedule before the season starts, I expect Tennessee probably win that game, right? Even with Joey Aguilar at quarterback. But the guy that Ty Simpson has turned out to be since the Florida State game is the guy that many people think can win the Heisman Trophy. And there's good reason to believe that that's not a fluke. And this is a great opportunity to do that. Now, if you can stop Simpson and you can stop the wide receiving core, you're going to win. Now, I say that in all confidence because this is an Alabama team that managed to beat Missouri without a single target or catch for Ryan Williams. I don't expect that Ryan Williams is happy about that, and I would love to really understand past the post-game quote what Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb were thinking by not just getting the ball into their most talented players' hands. And maybe it's just that when you got Isaiah Horton and you got Jeremy Bernard and you got wide receivers coming out of your ears, maybe you ain't got to throw it to what many people believe was the second best wide receiver in the country coming into this season in Ryan Williams, and a guy who has been up and down. He's dropped a lot of passes, or I should say dropped more passes than he did last year, but his talent is undeniable. And I think at this point, if he doesn't get fitted back into the offense quickly, you risk having him just check out. And given what that man has been through and given how hard it has been for him to just make it to a place like Alabama, I wouldn't begrudge him that. Oh, by the way, LSU's got Vanderbilt, and that's a marquee game on the schedule because that's top 25 opponent, 2 top 20 opponents because LSU was able to dispatch South Carolina earlier tonight, and Vandy is 5-1. Oklahoma gets South Carolina, but, you know, we'll see what that means. And then Miami coming off the bye, they get a 4-1 Louisville, so that's a game everybody's going to watch. Mississippi and Georgia might be – that's a play-in game right now. I mean, Mississippi is undefeated, Ole Miss, at 6-0, but given they fell behind against Washington State today and they barely pulled out a win against Washington State despite a 140-yard rusher in Kejuan Lewis and another outstanding game from Trinidad Chambliss, all Gunnar Stockton needs to do is get his offensive line back together, and it feels like they might be able to take that game from Ole Miss, a game they lost to Ole Miss last year. That's one we're going to watch. That's going to be a top 10 matchup. It's also going to be a marquee matchup, but I can't believe this game is at 2:30. And back to the earlier segment, the one thing that I do want to change about college football is we do a better job of scheduling our marquee games so that everybody watches them. I get that we spread them across 4 networks, NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox. That's despite FS1, ESPN, ESPN2, CBS Sports Network, Peacock. The list goes on. TNT, right? I think that when you know that you got these kinds of games, like the idea that we had Oklahoma and Texas up against Oregon, Indiana at the same time as Colorado upsets Iowa State. Nobody wants to see that anymore, right? We live in a different era of football where the money that is spent on airing these games is also a reason why each one of the network is trying to stagger the games, right? It's why Big Noon Kickoff is at noon. It's why the SEC game of the week Used to be at 2:30 on CBS, and nobody messed with that time slot. And the ABC game of the week was Saturday night. They fed into each other. Now we've got so many good matchups, but we also got more networks invested in better conferences, the Big Ten, the SEC, ACC, Big 12, and not 5 conferences. We got a different problem here. All to say, I hope that we get to see the end of Georgia Ole Miss before we start the game that is going to be Tennessee, Alabama. But all while you're going to have some other great games going on. One more to watch here that I think is not going to get a lot of play, but should, is USC and Notre Dame at 6:30. USC has an opportunity to perhaps be top 25 team tomorrow, one-loss team, but also to beat a Notre Dame team that played in the national title game last year and would love nothing more than to get another win against SC to bolster its chances of getting back into the college football playoff with an at-large bid. It can do it. It might do it. And given what CJ Carr has shown, and more importantly, what that running back room has been like and that defense has been like, that's going to be a really outstanding game. It's just not going to get as much publicity as an SEC conference game or a Big Ten conference game because it's not a conference game. It's a rivalry game that Lincoln Riley even talked about might not need to be around for some time. I think the winner of that game has a straight shot to the college football playoff. Harder to do in the Big Ten if you're USC, easier to do if you're a Notre Dame and an independent, but still straight shot, right? It's going to be there for the taking. Can you get it done? That's going to be the question. All right. If you like this episode of Adapt and Respond, let me know that you like the live show in the comments. Shoot me any of your questions. You know that I'm in the comments and we're having these conversations. Keep it civil, keep it cordial. Remember that I'm a person too, and I'll read your comments and I got feelings. So if you ain't got nothing nice to say it with your whole chest because it might be the last thing you get to say at all.